Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on CryptoForGrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good, what's good, what's good? So, Verizon still hasn't provided a good reason as to why they were down. That's one thing. That's a very big thing. A lot of people are speculating, including yours truly, that they are actually, or they experienced an attack. I want you to think about this. Cloudflare, AWS, Verizon. And let me give you an idea about Verizon. Verizon is, I believe, still the world's largest internet security firm. That's how big they are. Right? That's literally how big they are. If you watch this morning's show, then you'd know I already gave you that credit. So you get no credit right now, sir. And have you invested in yourself? Tonight's question: which bank's CEO just said the industry could lose $6 trillion to stablecoins with staking? Citi, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, or other? And if it's other, drop it in the comments. And we'll get to that conversation a little bit later. But amazing when you stop and really think about it. Right? Excuse me. Then you've got TSMC came out swinging today. 35% jump in earnings, 25% year over year in terms of growth. 6% pre-market share gains is what they had earlier this morning. That's not what I'm talking about them. The reason why I'm speaking about them is because they drove the market today. Today was all about TSMC. There were huge announcements that they're going to invest like $500 billion in the United States. And I want you to really understand what that actually means. Some of that money was already pledged last year. So subtract that, it was 100 billion plus. I also want you to stop and think about the extravagant numbers that have been tossed around. $500 billion is $500 billion. I just want you to let that sink in a little bit. I don't know that those numbers are true. And it sounds like they got big numbers. But when I was listening to Mr. Lutnick, Hutanik's favorite person, speak, it was always, if they, right? If they do this, then this. If they do this, then this. There's a big reason why the United States would want TSMC to build manufacturing plants here, and it's fairly simple. At some point, China is going to make a play for Taiwan, and TSMC can ill afford to be in Taiwan when that happens, and the world can ill afford for TSMC to be under Chinese control, or at least that's what they think. China, on the other hand, has been working on technology on their own so that they don't have to rely on anybody on the outside. Think ASML, TSMC. Just saying. So I don't know that, frankly, I don't know if China's in the position to actually take over Taiwan. I don't know if they want to do something like that. It costs money, takes time. So there's a lot going on with that with that regard. But still, from a technology perspective, it would be a great thing if TSMC, if the world's chip development was not only in Taiwan. And I have a funny feeling that other countries have not been doing what China's been doing. China's been playing a long game, as they always do, so it should be no surprise. Like I said, they're already trying to mimic what we've got going on with ASML, or what ASML's got going on. They've already created a machine that mimics what ASML does, creating the wafers. It's not there yet, and they say it's not there yet. But why did they make that announcement? They made that announcement to put the world on notice that pretty soon we're not going to need you. We've got everything right here. We don't need you. Have you looked at some of the products that are coming out of China? Cars, computers. Go take a look at some of the stuff that Huawei has created. No, it's not allowed in the United States because we have security issues. But apparently it's allowed in so many other places around the world. And that technology, if people got their hands on that technology, I really do think that they would look at Apple and be like, why were we even playing with that? Joke. Cool technology when it first came out, but severely behind when you look at other countries and what they're doing, specifically China. I get it. People are saying, well, the only reason why certain things are cheap in China is because they subsidize a lot of stuff. Sure, but so did we. Back in the day, that's what we used to do. And as well as some of their stuff is legit, or legitimately, if you want to be proper, because I can hear my mother taking off that slipper. So if you legitimately think about certain things, China's got, let's just say, more than competitive technology. When it comes to cars, electronics, more than competitive. Something else I heard today, and it made me stop and think, because it was something that I was saying before. China has been coming out with these large language models, or AI, and just dropping them on the market. I've said almost countless times how I think that the business model of OpenAI, Anthropic, and the rest of them are going to need a bit of adjusting. Why? The models that we're getting out of China are from 90% as good to 110% as good. Meaning 10% better, 10% worse. They're right there in that range compared to what we have now from our vendors, our innovators. Have you seen, when they talk about deepfakes, a lot of that tech first came out of China. China's been taking everything and just taking it to the way next level. Their stuff is so good that you need to put some kind of markers on them to let people know this is a fake. My team and I have been testing all kinds of things. We've been testing video. We've been testing audio. We tried out an audio solution today. And that audio solution, excuse me, I mimicked my voice. It's got my voice down. It just doesn't have my delivery. My not quite my enunciation. So if you write a statement in proper English and not how you would say it, it's going to pronounce everything perfectly. Right? Like I said perfectly. You knew what I said. What I meant to say was perfectly. Most people don't get to that. Fact. Enunciation is everything. Enunciation is everything. Vibe code it. One of my guys is still working. He can crack me up in the middle of a show. He really can, and he just did. So when I look at, I'm so thrilled that you guys can't see what he's typing. He's horrible. He's a horrible individual. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you're investing in companies that are in AI, you need to think about, are they poised for success, or are they the sitting ducks of disruption? Right? Really and true. Hey, Rick Ritchie, thanks for letting us know that you invested in yourself. And you're right. Trump is supposed to go to China in April. What does that even mean? You know what I mean? What does that even mean? Yes, Matthew McConaughey today announced that he trademarked himself so that nobody would be able to do anything. Because he has a very unique voice. Imagine James. I mean, when we took a sampling of my voice, 5 seconds, a 5-second sampling of my voice. Wow. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. So yeah, when I was listening to it, I was like, holy moly. It's got my voice. It doesn't have my enunciation. It doesn't really have how I speak. So because it doesn't have how I speak, it would be perfect for translating into other languages, right? So imagine my voice in, pick an Indian language. That would be awesome. Picture my voice in Spanish. I listened. You want to crack up? So we wrote something in Spanish, not French, but Spanish. And the first thing I got in my head, I sounded like Pepe Le Pew. You have to be old to get that one. I know. Shut up. But I sounded like Pepe Le Pew. It had my voice, but it had that drawn out, mi amor. You know what I mean? Like just, but the technology is so good. The technology is so good that I could tweak that. I could tweak it and it would sound like me. I did an audiobook once and I had to go through the audiobook so that I could fix certain words that were going to be mispronounced by the model. And let me tell you something. Amazeballs. Amazeballs. Because I would have to spell them out phonetically to get AI to actually pronounce it the way it's supposed to be pronounced. That's just on regular words. That's just on regular words. Imagine saying words, like I said, like perfectly. See? So when you're out there doing your own research, knowing your entries and exits, and absolutely investing deliberately, and you're looking at the AI space, now you know what you've got to be looking at. Because if I'm OpenAI, I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, "Oh, I've got problems. I've got big problems." I had somebody come after me once. I want to say it was like a couple of months ago, and I was talking about AI, and somebody said, "You couldn't possibly do in your office what OpenAI can do in the cloud." I read that statement that I mean, it wasn't exactly the same as that, but I read the statement to my team. I have to tell you, we went on about it for like a half hour, just cracking up. Just cracking up. Because what you can do with an in-office setup or even a hosted setup, hosted on your machines. You go to a co-location facility, those are your machines. They're just on a bigger pipe on the internet, and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about local outages or anything else like that, because this place has primary, secondary, tertiary pipes coming into the space. So if Verizon goes down, they've got Comcast. Comcast goes down, they have a local cable provider. Yeah. And I sat there and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I'm going to be looking at companies. I mean, Apple has a new computer with new software, and you can literally stack those machines and basically build an AI supercomputer. You can stack 5 of them, right? They're about this wide, and 5 of them together would be about this tall. And it would give you the power, the memory to run any LLM that you wanted to run, any large language model you wanted to run. Run multiple side by side. Has enough RAM. It's got like 2 point something terabytes of RAM. Terabytes of RAM. Yeah. You can do things like that. And you can build that system. I mean, it's Apple, so you know the price tag is going to be big. But 5 systems that give you a total of, I believe it's 2 terabytes. It could be a little bit less, a little bit more, whichever. But yes, you could build that for like 40 grand. 40 grand gets you that. Any model, anything. And now you're running things equal to or better than OpenAI, Anthropic, and the rest of them. You can do video better than them. Voice better than them. Images better than them. We pitched it. We pitched it to a company. Companies thinking about, oh yeah, maybe we should do it on our own. You could. And it would be no problem. You want to have redundancy? $80,000. 80 grand. Boom, done. Not a problem. Buying that number of machines, you could probably get a discount. And I have an in with Apple, so yeah, we could probably negotiate a discount. But imagine, only 80 grand, and you never have to worry about giving your data, your information, your research, your knowledge, your pricing, your proprietary information to any company that's out there. So again, if you're somebody that's investing in the AI space, are you investing in a disruptible duck? Or are you investing in a company that's looking down the right road? The next step, and hello, Eli, thanks for letting us know that you invest in yourself. Hello, Pause, thank you for letting us know you invest in yourself. So, hello, Paula. Almost missed you. Thank you for letting us know you invested in yourself. If you're investing in one of these companies, do your own research. Know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Because I'm going to tell you now, when I'm looking at companies now, I am not playing around with companies that are, I know Hutanic. And thank you for that, by the way. I am not looking at companies that I believe are sitting ducks for disruption. I'm not. You want to know what the future brings? The future brings prosperity for companies that are creating solutions. Whether they're in-house solutions or if you're a company like mine, you're a consultancy, and you're creating solutions for your customers, you're going to have prosperity. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. Why do I say that? Companies that are providing solutions are constantly looking for the best way to do something. Yep. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Something else that I was looking at today. Credit card stocks took a hit for 7%? Depending on which one you're looking at, anywhere between 5 and 7%. And I'm like, oh, I'd get in on a couple of credit cards. I would absolutely look at Visa. I would absolutely look at MasterCard, especially since they're down right now, taking it on the chin. I would absolutely get in on that. Why are they down? Well, because Trump a couple of days ago had something to say about them, right? Something to say about that 10% cap and all that good stuff. Take a hit, buy now, don't worry about it. Why? Visa and MasterCard are both playing a long game. I think they've both figured out how they can make money, generate revenue in the future with AI in the future. I believe that they've also figured out how they can make money in the future leveraging blockchain technology and investing in the right companies. No, I have not heard anything about MasterCard buying Zero Hash yet. I have not heard anything, not a peep. It's been crickets. Crickets, and I haven't heard jack. So I'm still looking. But you have banks and other companies figuring out that, oh, you know what? We're either going to have to buy an exchange or invest in an exchange or get an exclusive with an exchange. I mean, I want you to think about this. I don't know if it's officially an exclusive, but do you think that Gemini is going to go work with the New York Stock Exchange after they cut that deal for $50 million with NASDAQ? I don't think so. I don't think so. And Gemini's got to integrate that technology, NASDAQ's technology, into their technology stack. So yeah, I don't think they're going to bed with anybody else. Is the New York Stock Exchange thinking about that? I don't know. But they just lost Walmart, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Some of these companies that are in certain businesses, you look at them as being in a certain industry until you realize, man, you're kind of in the retail industry, but I guess with all the technology that you're doing, you're really a technology company that's in a specific vertical. Years ago, I used to say that about Morgan Stanley. The first time I was engaged with Morgan Stanley, I want to say it was like 17 and a half years ago. 17 and a half years. I got kids older than that, but still, 17 and a half years ago, here we go with Morgan Stanley. And I walked out of that office when I was done with that. And I said, this is a bank that realizes they're a technology company. They were moving in the right direction. Way back then, they were moving in the right direction. No comment about today, but you have banks that are sleeping, which leads me to tonight's question. I'll say it again. Which bank CEO just said the industry could lose $6 trillion in deposits to stable coins with staking? They are freaking out. Freaking out. They've lost their shit. Or, I'm sorry, they're losing their shit. There's no other way to say it. Like, that's the proper way to say it. That's proper use of words. And let me tell you something. They should be. They should be. They should be all kinds of scared. All kinds of wah going on. And some people sit there and go, Eddie, why would you think that? Why wouldn't I? Think about this. You're talking about an industry that doesn't necessarily do what's best for itself. They're laggards. They lag behind everything. They wait too long to react. They see somebody that could take them out of business, and they used to make so much money that they could just buy them and just shelve their technology. Those days are done. Those days are done. And you want to know something? Those days are done in so many industries that it's not even funny. Remember when the big three used to own the automotive industry? Do they now? Who's eating their lunch? Look at the big three. Who's eating their lunch? Don't make me say it. Hyundai's got some nice cars, so does Kia. Which one of those companies have actually developed a pure luxury brand? Now, here's what's funny. Years and years ago, before I even had a show, my friend and I, like a brother of mine, Elliot, we were sitting down and we were talking about how they were going to increase the production line for BMW and Mercedes and make cars that are more appealing to the masses. What else did they do? They took several notches down from luxury. Back in the day, you could buy a car. You could buy a true Mercedes, a true BMW. But let's stick with Mercedes because that's what I use. That's what I kind of like. True Mercedes, leather, just true Mercedes, right? Then they came out with the Mercedes with leather, pleather on the insides, fake leather. And I was like, man, and you want me to spend this kind of money on something that's not even leather anymore? Fake wood paneling. What? You serious? They got away with it for a long time. Then what happened? You had cars like Lexus come out and just put all the bells and whistles in that Lexus. All the bells and whistles. Now, yeah, it's just a Toyota. So it's like Ford doing Lincoln. You know what I mean? It's like GMC, having the Tahoe and doing the Cadillac. Those were supposed to be the luxury vehicles. They're not. They're not anymore. Go look at a Mercedes. They went over $100,000 for what? So when I look at the automotive industry, I'm sitting back and I'm saying, wow, you're not just being pummeled by Chinese vehicles that are hitting every place except the United States. I want you to think about that. They're exploding everywhere except for the United States. The United States won't let them in. At some point, they're going to have to let them in. And it will be beyond a wake-up call for the big three here in the United States. If they let in a Chinese car, you could literally walk into your car's parked, right? And it's tight on both sides. You can't squeeze in. You could literally walk over to your car, knock on the hood, and the car will pull out for you. Car will pull out for you. That's some luxury. That's some luxury. So when I look at buying things and people are wondering, why is he going off on this tirade? Because I'm looking at everything in the same light. Stocks, bonds, options, crypto. So Solana had that big problem, right? Not necessarily reporting properly. Oops. And what did I say to you? Every time I talk about Solana, who else do I talk about? Cardano. I freaking love Cardano. Are you kidding me? Freaking love Cardano. More secure, faster, more reliable. When's the last time you saw Cardano go down? When's the last time you heard, massive controversy, ongoing controversy about how they're reporting their numbers? You don't. But you do about Solana. Solana, I think, a lot of people don't realize this, but I think Solana's got a massive, massive, massive blind spot. And if you look at that blind spot, not all too hard, that blind spot is Cardano. You cannot compare Solana to XRP. You cannot compare Solana to Ethereum. I don't care what anybody says. You cannot compare Solana to Ethereum. They keep making the argument against Ethereum, but if you have to keep arguing and the other side's not paying you any mind, at some point, you've got to sit there and just go, oh man, they just don't care about you. They don't care about you. They're not worried about you. Not at all. You will be your own downfall. They will be their own downfall. Because you should have been aiming for XRP, but you can't because they blew you away. So you want to pick on Ethereum because people can build on your platform. Good luck with that. Ethereum is way more decentralized. Did you know that Google personalized Cointelegraph? You can't penalized Cointelegraph. You can't get the website through Google. I don't know what that means. What do you mean get a website through Google? I don't know what that means. Do you mean Google Chrome? Are you really still using Google Chrome? I know you want to hit me right now. It's okay. It's okay. I'll probably let you because I'm a smart aleck. I know I deserve it sometimes. No, you don't. Google's not a it's not a web service provider. It's a search engine. You mean they're not searching? They're not coming up in search results? Is that what you mean? Switch to a different search provider. DuckDuckGo, something else. Yeah. So when you perform your searches, you're not coming up with their stuff. So go use an aggregator. CoinMarketCap aggregates, Live Coin Watch aggregates. But remember the class when, learning how to do your own research. You have to be very careful about where you're getting your news. I actually like Cointelegraph. No, I'm not endorsing them or anything else like that. I'm just saying I like Cointelegraph. They don't pay me. If they did, But yeah, there are a couple of sites that you have to pay attention to. But why would you need to go? If you know you like Cointelegraph, why don't you just have it in your tool? Like I have a tool in my on my browser, and I've got all my news locations as a single click. I go bam, and it opens up all the tabs, and I just rifle through all of them, do my corroboration, all that good stuff. That's how we all do it. We have a shared, when we decide that there's another one. You know how I say I create slots when it comes to crypto? Well, we create slots when it comes to news. We aggregate our own news. Why? I don't need an aggregator. We aggregate our own news. And like once a week we go out and we do a search on, are there any other news sources that we could possibly trust? And sometimes they're industry specific. Like there are banking websites that we get news from that are industry specific. They're not meant for the mainstream. These are news sources for people in the industry. Yeah, you want to know about that stuff. That's how we do it. CoinGecko went out there and they're still trying to tell everybody, well, that whole, we've engaged Moelis to go find us a buyer or whatever. They haven't got rid of that rumor. They came out and they spoke about it, but I don't feel like they got rid of it. I think that it's still something that can happen. And you don't get specifics like that. You don't get specifics like they're talking to Moelis. You say, oh, well, they might be putting themselves on the chopping block or whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's generic stuff. That's very specific. I think that could happen. Happen easily. The Clarity Act, yeah, that's officially dead. I mean, they're going to try to bring it back. They're still negotiating and things like that. But yeah, nothing's coming to a vote anytime soon. Brian Armstrong doesn't expect to see anything slide across his desk for like another few weeks at least. You ticked off one of your benefactors. What was on your mind? You ticked off one of your benefactors. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? Like, really? Not such a great idea. Not such a great idea. Just saying. So I'm looking at everything and I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, there are better things that we can do. Just saying. Right? I mean, you want to pay attention to what's going on out there. Banks are beyond worried. They're well beyond worried. And why are they worried? Because they're freaking lethargic. They freaking sat there. They had a whole lot of time to figure it all out. They knew about XRP and Ripple long before they were taken to court. Ha 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 ha. That's not going to amount to anything. Blah. Ripple got a lot of love from overseas. They got more love from overseas when they got started than they did from companies here. companies here gave up on them. Overseas, why do you think Ripple had so much money to do what they were going to do? Because they kept going. Overseas, Europe, other places were working with them. They were making money. Then what happened? Banks over here kept sleeping. Not going to happen, not going to happen, not going to happen. Keep telling you guys, I keep looking at banks in the United States as like Iron Man when he said, I'm 10 years ahead of everybody else's technology. And then Whiplash came out with his technology. Another dude in the basement. That's why banks are worried. They know that they've been sleeping too long. They haven't done jack. They haven't made a move. Banks hold a ton of unrealized losses, and they're trying to figure out how to dump that. The same way the world is trying to figure out how to dump U.S. debt. You want to, you're going to dump a lot of it, but you can't dump all of it because, well, you can't. You can't afford to take too much of a loss. At some point, it's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt us. But banks are swimming in fear. You ever watched, what movie was that? The Justice League. You ever watch the Justice League? What's that smell like? Smells like fear? It's an aroma. It's a disgusting aroma. Just saying. And people don't pay attention. Again, who is in a space where you can be disrupted? Banks are in a space where it's not can, are being disrupted. They got punched in the face by fintechs and they shrugged it off. Oh, they'll never be anything. All these years later, and you still have a whole bunch of fintechs. PayPal went out and bought a lot of them, including Venmo. But you still had other ones pop up. Look at Plaid. You still had a whole bunch of other ones pop up. And what Jamie Dimon do? Well, we're gonna make it hard for them. We're gonna charge them for access to our data. Who are you really charging? Aren't you really charging your customers? And aren't you going to wind up pushing your customers someplace else? Maybe not to Plaid, but if I've got a stable coin and I can stake that puppy, deuces, I'm out. Oh, but they don't have insurance. You cut your insurance. Hutanic, isn't that right? It used to be $250,000 per account, and now it's $250,000 for the bank that you're in. Whew, that's a big difference. Savings account, checking account, money market account. Yeah. They changed the way they were doing business. They slept on things. They snored on things. You can still hear them snoring. Oh, we're going to have, crypto integrated this year. 2025 came and went. They were flapping their gums. Beginning of the year, we're going to have it by blah, 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 blah. Oh, man, we don't have it. Yeah. Listen, any one of those banks, nobody's talking about dates that they're going to have something integrated. Meanwhile, we have companies like Kraken that have gone out and said, oh, we're just going to buy a stock trading platform. We're going to become a bank. We're going to make it easy for people to on-ramp and off-ramp their money, their fiat, and invest it with us. I believe they have a prime brokerage too. Like, they have all the components. You know what they don't have? They don't have a bloated network of freaking financial advisors. What can a financial advisor do for you now? What can a financial advisor do for you that you can't do for yourself? I know of one thing for sure. They have connections to stocks that are going to go IPO that you wouldn't have access to. They have access to companies that you can invest in that you normally wouldn't have access to. Some of them do. Not all of them. Some of them. But if that's the only thing they bring to the table, Do I really need your network? Because to make those kinds of investments, pre-IPO, never go IPO, I've got to know people. Back in the day, that was the case. Right now, that's not the case anymore, is it? Right now, I do not need a financial advisor to help me get in on something. There are literally platforms out there for those businesses to sell their shares. Talk about disruption. Again, these companies are going to wind up getting their stuff tokenized. And the idea of leaving money on the table because you went through one of these companies to take you IPO, you might not need that. And then that percentage of money that you missed out on goes straight into your pocket. Disruption? No. No, not at all. And I just sit there and I just giggle about it. I just giggle about it. Why? Because on both sides of the coin, you have people that are thinking about, oh, I cannot think about, crypto. What my man Matthew McConaughey say? It's Fugazi. It's Fugazi. Until it's not. And it's not anymore. And if you're still holding on to that old school way of thinking, oh, it's nothing, then you better put the US dollar and other fiat in that same bucket. Not backed by a precious metal. They're backed by a promise. Yeah, sounds about right, doesn't it? Sounds about right. They're backed by a promise. There's nothing else backing the US dollar. There's nothing else backing other coins or other fiat that's out there. Or some other fiat that's out there. Your SOL. You can go look that up. I would rather overpay the Treasury quarterly and earn 6%. Less risk than holding it in a bank. Yeah. You mean Treasury bonds? I don't know that I'm not trying to hold somebody else's debt. I don't know that I'm debt centric now. A country's debt? I don't know about that. Don't believe me? All jokes aside, look at all of the superpowers. Which one of those economies is doing well? Name one. Out of all the superpowers, name one that's got a thriving economy. It's a nice little challenge, isn't it? It's a nice little challenge, right? Because you start to realize, oh man, China's not doing so hot. We know Russia's not doing so hot. When you've got to get weapons from Iran and borrow some people from freaking North Korea, you know your economy is not doing so hot. And then there's the United States. Possibly. I'll let the community judge if that's a shill. You said almost all countries are in too much debt. Yes, I did. I didn't say all countries. I didn't say all countries because there are countries out there that are doing just fine. Just fine. But start with the superpowers. Which one of them has a thriving economy? Yes. I want to hold that debt. Nah. Nah, I'm not trying to hold that debt. I'm not trying to hold that debt. I'm also not looking necessarily for things that are pointing me in the direction of stupidity. Right? Stupidity like I'm not gonna get into a banking stock just because it's a bank. I think the banks are leading us down the wrong road, so I'm not going to invest in a bank. You want to know who else is not investing in a bank? Or when he was the head of Berkshire Hathaway? Yeah, that guy. That guy. He dumped Bank of America. Like, and then they changed their stock so he was back up again in terms of percentage that he held, and he sold again to get underneath that cap, well underneath that cap. He was sending a clear message. Nope, not interested. I'm looking at two things. If I see a company that I think is going to be a sitting duck for disruption, I might play the long game. I might play the short game. Play a leap, right? When it comes to companies that are under that radar, that look like they're going to survive the disruption, I've got two perspectives to look at them. They're going to survive and buy, or they're going to survive and get bought. That's how I'm looking at them. That's honestly how I'm looking at them. You're not going to survive and not make a purchase. You're not going to survive and not get purchased. That's another way of survival, dead serious. It's going to be one of the two. I just don't see a company surviving and not going, oh, they're going out of business. Let's go snatch up some of their assets. Survive and buy, or survive and get bought. Ooh. 8 pause with the heavy hitting questions. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. But I'm also looking at that. Remember what I said about culling and collapse, right? Because I'm looking, or consolidation. So I'm looking at the same thing for crypto. Who's going to survive and who's going to get bought or do the buying? Who's going to get bought or do the buying? I'm also looking for crypto pin plays. Because to me, Galaxy Digital is a crypto pin play. They have crazy exposure to crypto, but they also manage their own data centers, and they just got approved in Texas. I'm also looking at those pin plays. I'm identifying those pin plays. I'm going deeper than just saying, oh, I like this coin. For what? What do they do? APAWS knows I ask that question all the damn time. What do they do? Why should I be paying attention to that particular, pairing? Isn't that wrapped ETH in some way? And I've never heard of the other one, so I don't understand why I'd be looking at it. So that's something I'd be paying attention to. As a matter of fact, has this person been on here before? Well, it looks like that might be that person's first comment. Or at least I'm not coming up with anything. Well, that's it. That's it. And if I'm looking on Deck Screener, that's an issue. So yeah, we'll whack that because I don't see anybody responding. So we're gonna whack that. I'm not gonna ban the user just yet, but coming real close. Coming real close. That Bitcoin 30 update made problems. Bitcoin 30, I don't know what you're talking about. Now Knots is doing it. I have no idea what you're talking about. You're talking like some kind of strange language. Nobody's going to know what you're talking about there, bud. Nobody. CME Group launched crypto futures, or is about to launch crypto futures. It's supposed to happen today. Cardano, Chainlink, Stellar, with 139% year-over-year volume growth. Wow. Yeah, what's the core 30, dude? You assume people know what that is. Don't make those kinds of assumptions. It's a very, very wide audience, a very diverse level of knowledge. So sometimes you have to break things down. That's my point. You know better. You know it's tough. You know it's tough. You just found the channel. Good information. Thank you, Stanley Dixon. Greatly appreciate that. That's what I was looking for, Hutanic. That one right there. That's what I'm looking for. For all you big baggers out there, I'm trying to pay more attention to the lives, to the live chats. But after that, I'm not paying any attention to any posts other than posts that are on Grow My Bag. There are two feeds. There's the regular feed, and then there's the big bagger feed. I'll be paying attention to the comments there. And we've got massive testing tomorrow. So I know that tomorrow morning I've got a show, but Friday flips might not happen because we've got massive testing going on this weekend. We have massive QA. We'll be banging on a whole bunch of stuff. We've been banging on stuff for the past couple of weeks. So there's a lot. Thanks, Hutanic. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes. Tell your friends about us because we're the only channel that actually cares about your knowledge, your first investment. Now, tonight's question was, which bank CEO just said the industry could lose $6 trillion to stable coins with staking? You want to know who that was? Brian Moynihan of Bank of America. Brian Moynihan was like, our industry could shave $6 trillion. That's a little less than BlackRock's market cap right now. They're above 14. Imagine $14 trillion in assets under management. But they're saying, yeah, we could lose those deposits. You're going to lose those deposits. You're going to lose those deposits. The more you squeeze, the more things slip between your fingers. You're going to lose those deposits. You want to know why? Because you people weren't smart enough to say there could be better technology. There could be better things out there that people are going to want. We either get in bed with them or we create our own versions. But you've been sitting here resting on your laurels for decades. For decades. If we just look at crypto, you've been sitting on your laurels for 20 years. Some people say, well, Bitcoin didn't launch until 2008, 2009. There were things before that. They've been resting on their laurels for greater than 20 years. If you want to be really smart about it, they've been sitting on their since we depegged from gold. And they kept driving us into the ground each and every single chance they had to actually go do that. And what happened? All they did was get bailed out. All they did was get bailed out. They got paid to screw up. Thanks for screwing everything else up. Let's give them some of our tax money now. That's literally what happened on more than one occasion. We didn't learn from history. We did not learn from history. Why am I out here doing all this research and sharing it with you guys? Because we seem to have a really good knack for repeating history. Silver stackers are leading away. So there are people saying that silver is going to hit 200. There are people that were giggling about silver hitting 100. Not that far away, are we? Remember when they were getting their giggle on about gold hitting 4,000? Those are all people that didn't practice the GMB3. It's not that freaking difficult. It's not. People are scared. People are scared. Here's something else that I wanted to tell you guys. This one's really funny. So you know how they kept saying that people are still spending money, and I said there's a difference between the people up here that are spending money and people that down here that are not spending money? You want to know how much money was being spent? A lot. It's not about how much. It's about how. It's about how. People were buying things on debt. Buy now, pay later. Buy now, pay later. You want to know how buy now, pay later works? It's an awesome business. I'm not even going to play with you. It's an awesome business. Here's what happens. You go, you want this, they give you this, you put a little money down, and they automatically withdraw that money from your bank account. It comes out immediately. And if you're not quick and you're not smart, it comes out before all the rest of your bills. So you're buying now, paying later, having that money withdrawn. Yeah. What do people do? Oh, yeah, they jump up and, they go open up another business account and they tell their companies to go send the money there instead of there anymore. And this is what happens. But yeah, no, buy now, pay later. So you have a lot of people that are rocking and rolling in debt. And buy now, pay later isn't reported like credit card debt is. Oh, yeah, you see where that's going? Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, we're on the road to not a good place. Platinum, copper, all the precious metals. Yep. Copper's always hot. I got to tell you, copper's always hot. Just saying. But the bank that said that, like I said, Brian Moynihan. Oh, that Bank of America. Ooh. It's ugly, right? How can you trust banks when you have TD Bank, the country's 10th largest bank, right? Country's 10th largest bank, and one dude orchestrated money laundering for over $474 million. Yeah. Uh-huh. How do you trust banks? Banks were getting smacked in the face for mishandling data. They were able to write that off as cost of doing business. I've been saying that to you for a while, right? Cost of doing business. Slap on the hand. Not even a hard one. One of those fake tear kind of slaps. Let's go get some beers. Yeah. I'm looking for opportunities that are pointing me toward two major buckets of opportunity. Those that are going to survive disruption. The obvious is going after companies that are going to disrupt. Those that are going to survive disruption and those that are not. And people are like, why would you want the ones that are not? Because those shorts are going to pay off lovely. Just saying. Different ideas, folks. Different ideas. Why don't you go over to growmybag.tv, become a member, and start sharing your ideas about what you're doing and how you're looking at things. Anyway, everybody, as usual, as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And absolutely, thank you for your trust. I'll be back tomorrow morning for the daily at 6:30 a.m. We'll be posting on all social media, or most of the social media platforms, as a little reminder that the show is coming up. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everybody, thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.